Well, hello, friends. It's your pal Tom Picklefeather, here to tell you a story that's just for kids. Warning, not for children. Hi, everyone. It's your pal Tom Picklefeather, today with another fun story for you. Speaking of fun, did you know you can have a little too much fun? You could play so hard that people start getting hurt, and then it's less fun. And we're going to cover that in today's story. Heckraiser. Once upon a time, there was a guy named Frank. Now, Frank, he was a mean bully. And when he wasn't bullying, he was trying to find things about magic and puzzles. He loved both though. He loves all three of those things. One day, he finds this little puzzle box called Lament Configuration. And it's like a little Rubik's Cube. And he was like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun. And he ended up figuring out. Well, when you figure out the Lament Configuration, it takes you to this place called Funland, which is home of the Cenobites. The Cenobites love to play, but sometimes they play just a little too hard. And Frank was like, I can't handle it. They play too hard. I keep getting hurt. Well, while he's playing around in Funland, his brother Larry and Larry's daughter Christy and Larry's friend Julie decide they're going to move into this new house that Frank used to live in. And so they're moving stuff in. Well, Larry ends up getting a boo-boo. He's like, ow. And it hurts so bad he cries. And his tears hit the floor where Frank disappeared. And that, through some magic, that made Frank appear, but naked. Well, Julie finds Frank, and she's like, oh my gosh, Frank. You see, Julie and Frank were secret friends behind Larry's back, which is not a very nice thing to do. You know, just be friends with everybody. You don't need to be sneaky and secret with it. But anyway, Frank was like, yes, I was in this place called Funland. And that's why I don't have any clothes, so can you get me some clothes? And so Julie was like, all right. So she found all these guys, and she was just stealing clothes from them. And, you know, she kept stealing article after article of clothing and giving it to Frank. And Christy's like, man, she sees Julie stealing from a guy, stealing his clothes. Christy's like, what's going on here? So she decides she's going to check things out, and she finds Frank. Now, Frank used to bully Christy, so she was not happy to see Frank. And Frank was trying to bully her, so she decided to take his Lament Configuration. He was like, no, don't do that. She's like, well, you need to stop being mean. When you can learn to stop being mean, I'm going to take this from you. I'm going to take away your toy. And so she ends up going to the hospital because, you know, she ended up tripping and getting some boo-boos. And so she ends up at the hospital. Well, she's kind of bored. This was the 80s, so you didn't have your phones, so there was no games to play. So she decides, you know, I'm going to play with this little puzzle box. So she plays with the puzzle box, and wouldn't you know it, it takes her to Funland. And the Cenobites are like, hey, have you seen our friend Frank? And she's like, I have. And they're like, okay, well, can you get him back? We missed him so much. And Chrissy's like, I'll see what I can do. So she goes back home, and she sees her father Larry. And he's acting real funny. And she's like, as she gets a closer look, she's like, oh my goodness, that's not my daddy. That's Frank in my daddy's clothes. He's just doing a really good impression. I thought he was my dad. So Christy decides, I need to hide from him because he's going to be a mean bully. So she hides. And so Frank, in his frustration trying to find her, he bullies Julie. And Julie's like, oh man, I regret being your friend. I'm so mad I can go take a nap. So she goes and takes a nap. And so Frank continues to look for Christy so he can bully her. Well, before he could, the Cenobites appear. And they're like, Frank, where'd you go? Why'd you leave us? We thought you were having a grand old time. And Frank was like, listen, I gotta be honest, fellas. You play too hard and it hurts. Cenobites, oh, well, we didn't realize that, but you gotta stop bullying because your bullying is like playing too hard. You hurt other people. And Frank was like, I never thought of it that way. You know what? You're right. So he apologized to Christy. He's like, you know what, Cenobites? Let's go back to Funland, continue having fun, but let's make it less painful, okay? And Cenobites were like, all right, that sounds fine. And so, the moral of the story is, check in with your friends, because sometimes we like to play a little rough, but we don't want to be too rough. We don't want to give each other boo-boos. That's never fun. So, always check in on your friends and make sure they're having fun before you do some roughhousing, okay? Now, you take care of yourselves, and remember, I love you.